Uh, can you hear me? Okay. Remember there was a message a couple weeks ago that popped up, something about you had to say yes because because we were recording the meeting, and then you could turn on your mic and camera. I wonder if that's what's going on. But I guess you didn't get the pop-up this time. Uh, uh, I don't know. Maybe you're going to have to leave and come back.
Kevin, okay.
Well, I see you're back. Everything looks right on my side, Art. I don't know. There you are.
Okay, I think we're here. Yeah, there's something funny going on with that pop-up.
Yeah.
I basically just had to leave the meeting, come back. Then eventually I got some sort of a, we have to do this.
Right.
And then I could start hearing you. So everything is cool.
Yeah, I don't know what I don't know why they've complicated it. I mean, it used to just work. So,
Yep. Well, somebody decided to improve something.
it's a feature.
Yes.
They gave us a feature that nobody wanted.
I thought we were at the library today. Oh, wait a minute. No, this is the last of March. So
This is the last of March. Yeah. Don't scare me because I'm at home.
No, next week.
Let me just make sure.
Yep, I'm pretty sure you're right.
Yeah, March was always, the 28th was always virtual.
Yes. Well,
and April 4th will be in person. And whatever I ended up doing this time, we actually have the room a little tiny bit longer, but I still have it between 5 and 7. So I don't know how that happened.
Well, I thought it was only one day per month where we had it for an hour and a half rather than 2 hours.
That was last month or this month. That was this month. And yeah, I don't know what happened with that either, because I told them that I wanted it till 7 and they came back and said 6:30 and I was like, okay. But of course the lady showed up at 6:15. So there's something screwy with their system.
Well, they're coordinating a lot of different groups, I think, and there's always an opportunity for miscommunication.
They used to have a third party that handled the calendar, the scheduling.
Mm-hmm.
And when COVID happened, they got rid of the third party, which makes sense because they weren't having any meetings at all. So, no reason to pay a third party to do the scheduling. But then when they started doing it again, they decided to take the scheduling on themselves, which it hasn't really been right since. So
Okay. Well,
they really need to go back to the third party deal, and even if they restrict us to two weeks out of the month, they really need to go back to the third party deal, because that system was just solid. You say
yeah,
you want this, and they go, okay.
yeah. Well, it's a pretty nice facility. I mean, you certainly cannot fault them for the nice rooms and so forth and so on.
No,
That's a beautiful library, as libraries go. So
they do a really good job on probably 99% of the stuff. It's just the scheduling thing. They really
yeah,
need somebody else to take care of that. But I doubt they'll ever do that, because I don't know what the third party was charging them to do it. I'm sure it wasn't cheap. So
yeah. Well, and it wasn't free. So I mean, this wasn't a volunteer situation.
right. So
Somebody a paid staff was doing it.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
well, so spring is springing or sprunging or whatever.
Yep. And grandkid is out of school for the next week and a half.
Oh, is this the Easter vacation, or
The
what we
Easter
used to call
vacation.
the Easter vacation? I guess that's no longer politically correct. Now it's the spring vacation.
Spring break. It's spring break.
Spring break, right? Yeah,
And
we had the same thing at San Jose City College. Basically, we were informed that Easter break was now spring break.
yeah.
And they this being this, in spite of the fact that the majority of the population was either Hispanic or Vietnamese, so you would think that Easter break would have been okay, but no, man. The schools particularly are into this politically correct thing, and it just, I just finally decided there is no way of fighting City Hall.
You're just not going to fight them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I don't really get. It's just words. I mean,
Yeah, it is just words.
it's semantics. It's
Yeah.
spring, Easter.
Yeah.
Kind of all happens at the same time. So
Well, yeah, when I was a kid, now this sounds like I'm an old guy, but when I was a kid, we had Good Friday and Easter Monday.
Mm-hmm.
We got 2 days off for that. And,
Yeah.
that, of course, went out the window a long time ago. So,
Well, check this one out, because spring break, or this break, was technically supposed to end on the 8th, but the 8th is the day of the solar thing, the
oh, the eclipse.
the eclipse. They extended spring break for a day, so she doesn't go back to the 9th, so she can enjoy the eclipse.
Okay.
And I'm sitting there going,
Yeah, I'm sure somebody negotiated something there. Well, actually, I think it's not visible from Ohio, I don't think. I
Oh
think
yeah,
it's
yeah.
Oh, it is?
Yeah, it's supposed to be a large part of. Um, hang on, let me see if I can find the. It's not supposed to last long though.
Yeah, it's over in 15 minutes or so, something like that, I think.
Let's see if I can find the predicted path. Give me a big picture. Give me a big picture. And we go to share screen.
Oh, yeah.
So
Yeah,
yeah,
it just clips the edge of where you guys are.
yep. Yeah, we're
Well, actually,
we're
maybe
we're
not.
right we're right in here. So
I was going to say, if you're up close to Dayton, certainly you get the whole thing.
we are, yeah. I mean, okay,
Yeah,
we're right in here. So we are pretty close to the edge, but
yeah,
we definitely get it. So,
yeah.
and comes up from Texas. I don't.
Yeah, it slashes right straight across the middle of Texas.
Yep.
I don't, does it hit Oklahoma there? Let's see.
Um. Oh, that was.
It kicks the corner of Oklahoma, and then it goes right smack across. What is that? Arkansas. Yeah, that's going
Yeah.
straight across Arkansas, and picks up a little bit of Missouri just south of St. Louis there. But it does a pretty good job on the south end of Illinois.
Yep.
And Indiana.
Indiana looks like it's going to get a lot of it.
Yeah, a large percentage. And it looks
Pretty
like
much.
it's missing Columbus, isn't it?
I think Columbus is just barely in it. Nope. Well, part of Columbus is it's
Yeah, the outer belt, the north edge of the outer belt is.
yeah,
Uh,
that might be the thing to go and see. Stand in the middle where it's sunny on one side and dark on the other.
yeah.
Um But
That's impressive.
yeah, I guess, Cleveland is really the largest city that's going to get it in Ohio.
Yeah.
Uh, Part of Toledo. Toledo's right on the edge. But I'm not going to Columbus to stand in the middle.
Yeah. Right.
I might go down to Middletown or something to stand in the middle.
Well, it looks like it passes south of Middletown.
Yeah. Maybe go down to Mason. Mason's not all that far. But I was going to try to see. Cleveland is supposed to be about 2 o'clock. Totality partially begins at around 2, full totality at 3:13,
Mm-hmm.
and totality ends at 3:17.
So only 2 minutes for the full boat.
Well, what is that? 5 minutes?
Well, it's 3:13 to 3:15 or
Well, that's
so to,
the maximum.
okay, yeah.
So 4
So
minutes
4 minutes, yeah.
from here to here.
Yep.
And then the partiality ends 3 hours later. So yeah, I guess it's going to be dark for a while.
Yeah.
But of course, that Cleveland. Let's see, Evansville, Indiana. That's probably a little closer. So we're going to start to see it around 2 o'clock. Start to see it around 12:45, and then.
Mm-hmm.
But it's still only going to be like 3 or 4 minutes. It's like,
Yeah. The totality,
yeah,
is only going to be very short.
yeah. It's going to be one of those deals where if you're not outside trying to see it, you're not going to see it. You're going to miss it. So
Of course, if it's overcast, you aren't going to see it anyway. So.
yeah, and I don't remember what Patty told me. Patty told me that she had the weather prediction.
Well, that and $4 will buy you a cup of coffee these days. I think. I don't know. I haven't been to Starbucks in years. So.
$4. Yeah, that's not going to get you much.
That won't get you one of these that has 15 adjectives on the, low
Yeah.
fat.
According to AccuWeather.com, April the 8th is supposed to be about 70 degrees and partially cloudy. So
Okay.
we may see it, we may not.
Yep.
But it's going to be a nice day.
Yeah. So is your granddaughter excited about it, or she doesn't care one way or
I
the
don't
other?
think she cares. She likes playing video games. She's not an outside person.
Uh-huh.
She'd much rather just stay inside and play. So unless she says something about it, I'm not going to make a big deal about it.
Well, unless you got the safety glasses, have to be careful anyway. So
I've got a pair from a couple years ago that when this happened, but I was going to say I've seen them.
yeah.
It's going to last. It's not going to last very long, and I mean it's going to be dusk for most of the day. So eh. Yeah. So
I
unless she's,
remember,
yeah,
you know,
well, unless she says something about it, I'm not going to worry too much about
yeah.
it. So that's, you know, I've heard, I don't know. I think the news, like, they forget that we've had these, that they happen every 2 or 3 years or something, and that we've had them before. So I keep hearing this is the one in a lifetime, one in a lifetime. I
I don't
remember
think
this.
so.
I remember this from not too long ago.
Well, I remember there was one in Trump's period, because I remember they showed pictures of everybody around him had their glasses on and so forth
Mm-hmm.
and so on. You sit there and look up the sky. He didn't have any safety protection on. So,
Yeah, it's all right. It's just a son.
um,
Some of the older kids, when I picked her up from school today, they had glasses and they were out. Nobody was paying any attention to them, and they had the glasses on looking at the sun. I'm like, ah, that's probably not good. Those glasses probably aren't really for looking directly at the sun.
yeah, well,
But
now the school she's at, what's the age range there?
K through I think it's fifth. So
Okay.
what is that? 13?
No, it's younger,
Five,
younger.
five, 5 to 11, 12. She's
Uh,
she's
be
eight.
be
She's
more like
eight.
11, I think.
She's eight. She's in the second grade, so I guess I could sit there and figure that out. Yeah.
Um,
Um, she's considered they consider her one of the big kids now,
okay.
which was like, okay, that's kind of interesting. So she's all happy she gets to go in and out of the big kid entrance.
Well, is this a public school or private school?
Public.
Okay.
And it's a halfway decent school. When we first got her, and she was having all the all the issues with having to stay here and live here and whatever. Everybody there at the school was like, what's going on? We need to know, because there's something not quite right about her. So, we
Well,
had to explain we had
you
to
don't,
explain everything.
yeah, you don't want to get crosswise with the child protection agencies or whatever, because they can make your life just completely miserable. Because that's the reason they draw a paycheck, is to make people's lives miserable.
Actually, her agent, he's a decent guy. He understands a lot about what's going on, and he's working really hard to get her back home with her daddy, but her daddy isn't cooperating quite as well as he should
Okay.
be. And it's about ready to get up. I'm about ready to get up there and kick him in the butt a few times to.
Well, raising kids is a tough job, and none of us are trained for it. I mean, it's kids don't come with an instruction manual. Page 43.
Well, yeah, uh, it's kind of on the job learning, but
Yes, I would definitely say it's on the job training.
but he you know he just made a lot of poor decisions that
Yeah.
both me and Patty said, these are stupid. Why are you doing this?
Yeah.
You know, you do not want to get CPS involved, just like you said. You do not want
Yes.
that to happen.
Oh yeah.
So
Yeah. Well, she's got a good school, so yeah.
well, yeah, and her teacher and her principal, and you know, even a couple of other people that I don't really know what they do there, but they all noticed something was going on with her. So, you know,
How
because
big how big a school is it anyway? I mean, we're
it's
talking.
really not. It's I'd say there's a couple of hundred kids in there, maybe,
Yeah,
probably less than that.
that's a small school these days.
Yeah, it's an old school. They're getting ready to tear it down and build something better, but you know, that doesn't really say anything about the staff or anything. The staff are
Yeah.
young young teachers from wherever, and you know, they all seem like they care about what's going on. So I guess that's all you really can ask is
Yep.
teach good and care about the kids that you're teaching about or teaching to. So yeah, I guess that's you know, like I said, her teacher definitely knew that it, there was something not quite right when
Mm,
all this first started, and you know, a lot of it's settled down now, but
hmm
we still get little fits every now and then of why can't I go home and all that, and I'm like, trust me, we all want you to go home.
Sooner rather than later.
We love you to death, but go home.
Yeah, that's the thing about grandparents. When the kids get out of sorts, you say, "Bye bye.
Yeah,
We'll see you next time."
yeah. Well, you know, we've been watching Thea for a long time. We've just it's just been within the last 4 months, 4.5 months, something like that, that she's actually lived here. But we've had her for a long time. So
Okay. Yeah.
her her daddy, single father, he has to work, so he would drop her off and we would have her. So
Well, that's not a particularly unusual situation.
not not really. I mean, it happens. And
I mean, my older daughter, the grandparents on her mother's side were the default babysitters for a long time. We had a nanny in the neighborhood,
yeah,
and then um, her mother would drop her off um, at her grandmother's house, and yeah,
uh, yeah. I mean, that's not really all that unusual, I guess. But
no, not well. Particularly out here, it's not that unusual because there's a lot of multi-generational families.
yeah,
How you doing, Steve? Can you hear us?
hello. I don't think he can hear us.
Is is he having the same problem I had at the
I
beginning?
I don't know. I don't
Steve?
think so. I don't think so
Hello.
because There he is.
Hello.
Can you hear us?
I can now.
Okay.
What was, did
There
you
was
send
a
it?
pop under of join with audio.
Oh,
So
Various
yes,
things
he
do
had
that
the
in
same
Linux.
he had the same problem you did.
yep. Yep. There's something strange in the latest version of Zoom that you have to authorize yourself to turn on the sound and video.
Yeah, that's because it's being recorded.
Acknowledge the fact that it's being recorded.
Okay.
So that one pops up on top while the window underneath is to join with computer audio. That one always pops up, but if
Yeah.
it isn't being recorded, it shows up on top.
Huh. I
Okay.
never see that one.
Well, you're the host though.
Okay.
I think it's the non-host, whatever you call a non-host.
Maybe. I used to see something that would say, give you a dial-up number or something to call in, and I don't think I've ever seen anybody actually do that. Everybody just
Well,
joins with audio.
when you get the email announcement
Mm-hmm.
that shows up right now in my upper left-hand corner of the screen, I've got two very, very small icons. One is green. I have no idea what it is. And the other one is red and says recording next to it.
Yeah.
So,
The green shield is for enhanced encryption.
ah,
So apparently we are encrypted.
enhanced encrypted.
Yep.
No, we are.
We have been encrypted.
We're in deep cover, so to speak.
So, yeah. I, I don't know. I haven't really noticed any new features in this version other than the same normal wackiness of Zoom. That Zoom works great, but you got to put up with the wackiness. Aha. I think everybody's clock went off and now people are showing up.
I had just gone to Sam's Club. That's why I was running a little late.
Yeah, you're all right.
Ah, Mike, can you hear us?
Well, you.
I can't hear you. I don't know whether you can hear me.
Yep.
Yes, we can.
Okay. I don't know why I'm coming up as Julie again, but
You can actually
Well,
rename
it
yourself.
could be coming up as someone worse.
Well, I'm sure you could.
Yes, but this time I knew it was you. So
yeah, the world has ample supply of worse.
and here comes Barry. It's
Oh,
almost like everybody just waited until 5:30.
Well, I had a model in SketchUp of a kind of a complicated set of cabinets, trying to build it around a column in the basement and match up with an offset in the wall using equipment that I'd salvaged out of the trash for the doors and for the supplies. And it's like, I drew it up last night and I was off like 1/8 of an inch. So I went back today to go make those minor changes. And it's like every line SketchUp jumps to the next line. So I'm off 1/8 of an inch. I think I've got it. And then I go to manipulate it and it does a Picasso.
No.
Yeah. I was using something that what was it? Inkscape. Maybe it was Inkscape. It was doing the same thing. I would put a line down and it would jump over. It would be here and it would just go boop. And I'm like, that is not what I told you to do.
Sometimes if you get it just like, 1 degree off, it'll do that kind of funny stuff.
Yeah.
Well, today I also had a depth problem. So I thought I was coplanar, but in actuality, one corner was back like 1/1000th of an inch. So nothing worked.
Well, sometimes our tools are really, really good, and sometimes they do wacky stuff to drive you crazy.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Well, a funny story about CAD. My nephew graduated from high school and he took a job working for Black & Veatch as a CAD operator. And Black & Veatch had bid on an old Pratt & Whitney engine manufacturing plant. The government, for some reason, wanted to know the location, elevation, and type of every sprinkler head in the facility. And this was a mammoth facility, similar to Evendale GE plant. And so the surveyors would go through and get the identification of the location, and then they'd push a button on the HP laser surveyor that would tell the type of sprinkler head. And they'd print it out and send it to my nephew. And he says, "This is stupid. Why don't we just put it directly in the database? Because that's all this CAD program is a database." So he sat down and started writing some code that would take the information directly from the surveyor instrument and put it in the database. And people came by and, here is a high school graduate, new hire to the company. And what are you wasting your time for? Stop messing around and get back to work. Well, in about a day, he had written the code so that the information went directly, when the surveyor pushed the button, went directly in the database, bypassed the CAD operator and everybody else. And they, instead of making $25,000 on this job and bidding $125,000, they made $100,000. And after that, no one bitched at him about wasting time.
Did he ask him for a percentage?
Well, over a 10-year period, he became the vice president of technology for Henderson Engineering. So people realized what was going on. He spent 3 years in London. I forget which engineering company he was working for, had hired a British engineering company, and they were not networked. So my nephew said they would go get the floppy off the computer, get on the elevator, drive down 2 floors and hand it to the other guy.
A real sneaker net.
Oh, yeah. Exactly. They stand around and BS and drink coffee while this guy made minor changes, took the disc out, gave it to the other guy who got back on the elevator. And he says, this is ridiculous. And he said the phone system was totally crap. It was pops and whistles and gurgles. He said he couldn't use that for any of the internet. So he worked for the company in the United States and knew he couldn't get fired by the people in England. So if he needed something, they wanted like 6 levels of approval to buy a paper clip or some ridiculous thing. And so he just went out and bought it, turned the invoices in, proceeded to make the thing work. And he showed me a letter he's really kind of proud of when he got back home. And the manager of the facility in England had told him, even after repeated warnings, you have failed to follow our procedures. And he was thrilled with that. He told me that the Brits were good at 2 things: drinking like fish and making everyone else's life miserable.
And making others drink like fish.
Yeah, right. Motivating others to drink like fish. Yeah, there was, I read an article, I don't know, a couple of years ago, and they said if James Bond, as played, I guess, in the movies, really drank as much as he did in the drama, that he would have terrible cirrhosis of the liver. What was it? A dry martini, twisted, shaken but not
Shaken, not
stirred.
stirred.
Yes, yes.
Yep. Yeah. Well, that was the time of drink and party, right?
Well, I don't know. It's I don't know that the alcohol consumption in the UK has gone down in the recent years. There's one of these streaming video cameras that I have a series of them I check into throughout the day. And this one's in Dublin, Ireland.
Oh.
And it's right outside a pub. And the beer truck pulls up with their equivalent of a pony keg, like 200 of them or so. And they unload them, and then they go and they load the empties, and if you just count the pony cakes, you gotta say, man, they drink a lot. So
Oh. Yeah. I can't say that I've ever been over there or aware of anything other than movies, or television shows. So
well, they used to export a lot of their comedy television shows. There was one of them I recall was called "Are You Being Served?" It was about a bunch of people in a men's department store, I guess, or haberdashery.
I can visualize the people's faces off of that, but I don't have any idea what their names were.
Oh, Mrs. Slocum, I remember, was the heavy-set old babe who was always putting everybody down and talking about how she was unanimous in something or another. And there were a slew of characters there. They were funny. Oh yes. Oh yes.
Oh, yeah.
Wasn't that on for a long time too?
It was here.
I remember-
1972.
I remember watching part of that or
Oh,
seeing
yeah.
it.
Yeah, it was family entertainment for us for a number of years.
Yeah, it says 10 seasons.
In the US or altogether
Uh,
there?
I don't know. I'm guessing that was total. 10 seasons total. But British TV shows are short. They,
That's true.
7 episodes tops. So 10 seasons really is more like 5 seasons.
Yeah.
Yeah, this season had 8 episodes. And that
Yeah,
looks like
there-
it's one of the longer seasons, so
Yeah, there have been some fine British dramas. Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy, Honorable Schoolboy, Smiley's People, the trilogy from John LeClaire, and I, Claudius, among others.
Yeah.
They also had a short series of akin to Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy called
Yeah.
London, Mexico City, and I think Berlin. And there was a character on there that was typical British smug. And they're in Mexico City, and the very sexy woman walks in and says, I like to judge. I like to judge the virility of a man by how hot a pepper he can eat. And so this guy grabs the pepper and takes a bite, and he tries to maintain the facade. Yep. His eyes open, he grabs a drink of water, he guzzles it, and all of his idealization of having some relationship with this woman goes out the door. He just jumps up, runs out of the room, and she smiles, having known all along that this was going to be his fate.
Well, I like the Faulty Towers.
Yeah.
They were.
yeah. Faulty Towers.
They were a bit off dead center. Let me put it that way.
According to John Cleese, that was based on a real experience that the Python troupe had at a hotel.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Apparently the guy, the hotel manager or owner or whatever was exactly like Basil Fawlty. And John Cleese just thought that was hilarious, so he made a show about it.
Turned it into a show.
Nudge, nudge, wink, wink.
And there has been, what was it, 4 attempts to duplicate it in America. And of course, America, it doesn't work well in America. And the Germans made a version of it that apparently was pretty popular. And I heard recently that they're trying to do like a soft reboot of it. They're going to bring a couple of people back from the original, but they're going to pass it on to like a new generation.
Well, some of them are not around anymore, I believe.
Most of them are gone, but John Cleese is still around, so. And then The other one I remember watching a lot was Red Dwarf.
I
That
watch
didn't,
that occasionally. I just never really could get too much into that.
Red Dwarf was a sci-fi, or is a sci-fi series that basically the ship is huge, like miles and miles and miles, and the main character has smuggled a cat on board and it got in trouble, and the cat ended up being in the cargo hall. He got placed in stasis and rigmarole and whatever. There was a reactor leak, and 3,000 years have passed, or 3 million years have passed, or something, and everybody's dead except for the cat that evolved, or except for a creature that evolved from the cat. Dave Lister, who is the main character who was in stasis, Polly, who is a hologram, and the ship computer, and Dave Lister's old bunkmate, because that is the best person that for him, and the four of them kind of just, it's hilarious. It's British humor in space.
Well,
It's hilarious. And they've still made they're still making it, kind of. They
mhm.
found one of the episodes, they find a robot who is tending after his dead shipmates like they're still alive. And that becomes like the fifth member of the crew, or the sixth member of the crew. And he learns, Dave Lister corrupts the robot and turns him into, you know, a hilarious thing that it's just hilarious. If you haven't watched it, you need to watch it. It's hilarious. It is typical. I mean, it's sci-fi. They can get away with anything. It's at one point the ship becomes alive. At one point they compress the ship down to nothing, and then the ship gets destroyed, and they fly around in Starbug for a while, and then nanites rebuild the ship and rebuild all the people that were on board the ship, which starts the whole thing over again. And Dave Lester gets in trouble for having a cat.
Well, have any
So years and years and
British-based
years ago,
shows
I
ever
watched
been translated into
Incredible
American
Journey,
television
Isaac
successfully?
Asimov. And I'm talking, I was like 12 or so. And at the time, I kept wondering, okay, fine. They compressed the people, but they would have still weighed the same. Because they explained that the way that they made them smaller was by making the atoms themselves tinier. They
oh,
reduced
really?
yeah. And it's like, then they've got the same mass. There's people who step out of that ship and step on somebody's vein and fall right through to the table underneath. Trying to remember a show that I really liked. I can't remember the name. Had a oh shoot, Blue Woman. They were on a living ship. Nice brunette. I cannot remember names for anything.
On a living ship.
Yeah,
Was it Firefly?
no,
No.
Firefly wasn't alive. That was a machine. This was a big animal that they were symbiotic with. The animal was not gargantuan. It was a single word title. And it reminded me a little bit of Dark Matter, but it wasn't. I'm looking through a list. 100 best science fiction shows, and I'm surprised that it isn't higher than it was. I mean, it's underneath Space 1999.
What's wrong with Space 1999?
Oh, well,
Yeah.
we're on the subject of bad British television.
You know, Space 1999 would have worked really, really well if they did not make the moon turn into a starship.
And do intergalactic distances every week.
And
Yeah,
they-
that too. Well,
they need some jokes also. They are too serious.
they were,
Fars-
it was serious. Yeah.
Farscape.
Farscape. Yes. That's probably the one I was thinking of when I was thinking of, when I said Firefly. Yes, I remember Farscape.
Ran 4 seasons. It was another of the many Canadian science fiction shows. And it's funny because there were a lot of sets shared with that one I mentioned like 3 minutes ago.
There are, I don't know. I never really got into Farscape. I remember watching a few of them, but it kind of was like, I don't remember what show that was that everybody loves, and I've watched it, and I've watched a couple of them. I've watched almost a whole season of them, and I'm just not that into it. I don't. What was that? It's a new show. I don't remember.
The Expanse.
The Expanse. I just couldn't get into it. I've watched the entire first season of it, and I don't know why people like it.
I think I like it because they don't stretch the bounds of real physics.
Mm,
If there's a communication between groups, it takes the speed of light time for that communication to pass along. So the differentials are there.
Yeah, but they travel in time, you know. So
the
everything else doesn't matter. They have time travel in the
Yeah.
series. So
I mean, I liked it, but I couldn't get into it. It's not one of those shows where I'm going to. I binged the first season. I'm probably not going to worry about the second or third or fourth season.
But if you stick with it long enough, you'll enjoy it.
Oh, is that how that one works?
Well, the part that I chuckle about every time I think about it is they are constructing off of the in orbit around Mars, I believe, a ship for the Mormons who are going
Yep.
to evangelize. And I think it's called the Trumpet of Gabriel or something like that is the name of the ship. And it's stolen. And they're not worried about the law enforcement people catching up with them. They're worried about the Mormons catching up with them.
The Nauvoo. Is that the one?
Mm, I forget what the name of it. It's been
The
some
Mormons
years.
built the Nauvoo with the intention of populating Talsete.
Could be. I thought it was like the trumpet of Gabriel or something like that.
It had like an angel kind of appearance to it or something, didn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. The yeah, I mean I enjoyed it, but it's not one of those shows where I could go back and just rewatch or but you uh you had asked a question, Mike, while Steve was talking and being a little I don't know what happened, how the two of you and over top of each other, but
I apologize if I did that.
well, I don't really know what your question was because all I heard was
Ah.
Steve.
I asked if anyone knew of a British television program that was successfully migrated to America.
The Office?
Yeah, that's a good one. So that's another one that I've watched, and it's entertaining, but not enough that I'm going to change my schedule to go catch it.
Yeah. Yeah, I
So you're saying The Office originally ran in the UK?
I am almost positive that it was in a UK.
Prime suspect with, I'm trying to think of her name, Helen Mirren.
Yeah.
They attempted to do that Americanized, and it was just an abject failure. It was one of those things where I thought, this is a great series. I wonder what it's going to be like here. It's like halfway through, I turned it off. Didn't have any resemblance.
By migration, you don't mean like Are You Being Served, where they just took the British version and put it on American TV.
No, I'm talking about the premise being like Are You Served, but being Americanized as a translation into English, into American.
American actors and American slang and
Yeah, an American
Yeah.
humor.
Well, half of what was funny about Are You Being Served was the English twist on things. Okay. If it was Americanized, I think it would lose all its humor.
see that's like the IT crowd. That was absolutely hilarious to watch, but as soon as they tried to bring it over to America and tried to duplicate some of the jokes and some of the physical comedy, it was horrible. Just horrible.
Yeah, that was another one that I tried to watch and thought I'd enjoy, but being in IT, it just hurt too much.
Uh,
The one I have a vague recollection of, the British title was Crackers, which
Okay.
was equivalent to psychiatrist, psychologist. And when it came out in the United States, I don't know what the title was, but it nothing translated. It would be equivalent to giving somebody's weight in stone.
Um Or, yeah. I mean, kind of the premise of Cracker has been done many times in many different ways, right? Like a criminal psychologist or whatever that helps the cops solve the crimes. So,
That line, I like Lie to Me.
yeah,
That one was pretty good.
yeah. There's a new one that recently aired, the Irrational, and I've only caught like 1 or 2 episodes of it, but it seems like it's pretty good. It's kind of the same idea. A criminal, a he's a professor of criminology or something, and he goes around helping the cops.
Okay, what was the name of the title again?
The Irrational.
Okay.
I've only seen a couple episodes, but the couple I've seen have been pretty good. It's got Jesse L. Martin in it. He's the criminologist. Like there's a lot of different premises with that though. There's like Professor T,
Yeah.
which that's a British show.
Oh, and he's a very British character
And
too.
he's a very British character. But he's a professor that solves crimes for the cops. So that's I think those kind of shows kind of translate both as long as they do them for the audience that it's intended for, instead of just bringing over, we're going to use pounds and stones, and that doesn't make any sense. I've been watching Death in Paradise forever.
Oh, yeah. My wife's a big fan of that.
Yeah.
They've actually gone through at least 3 detectives, I think, at this point.
Yeah. And they've kind of got away from the original premise of the show too. It used to be more of a locked room mystery kind of thing, and now it's just a mystery kind of thing.
In a very nice environment.
Well, yeah. there is that on a fake island that doesn't exist out in the Caribbean somewhere.
Yeah.
They had a spinoff last year called, maybe 2 years ago, called Beyond Paradise, where they take one of the detectives and put him inland. He's working outside of London, and it works really well. It's another one of where the original premise is kind of an impossible crime and he's in a small town, so it's not too many people, set out on I don't know, one of the rivers out there, or he lives in a houseboat. So if you like Death in Paradise, you'll probably like Beyond Paradise.
Well, the one thing about Death in Paradise that appeals to my wife is it's a mystery that's been chickified. I guess that's a verb.
Sounds good to me.
Well, yeah, maybe that's what's happened to it over the years. It's Because it used to really just be more of a locked room mystery. How did this thing happen? Kind of deal. And that's what I liked about it.
Well, now it's got all this romantic stuff going on in the background.
Yeah. And none of that stuff is ever needed for any particular reason.
I think that if you were to take a poll, it would be bimodal.
Well, I had a similar experience. I had read Scientific American for probably 35 years, and they changed the editor. And now instead of asking the scientist, what did you find and how did you find it and what does it mean? The new editors ask the scientist, well, how did you feel when you found it?
Yes, definitely a gender biased thing.
Yeah.
No, cancel.
They
I don't
still,
care.
I still read it, and they still have some pretty good articles in there. But
Do you know
but
what? Do you agree with my assessment of how they changed?
oh yeah, I started my subscription for Scientific American in 1958, so I've watched it for quite a number of years, and it was a standing Christmas present that I got every year, was a subscription, first from my parents, and once they've passed, my wife took it over, and so I've watched it for a long time, but it has changed. There's no question about that. For one thing, it's gotten a lot thinner.
Yeah.
The current one, I would say, is probably half the number of pages it had in the 70s even. So yeah, but there is a different bent on the whole thing, and I think that's part of the business of getting women involved in science and so forth and so on. And that's my theory, at least. Some of it, I take with a grain of salt, and some of it's very good still. But it's all written by writers now. None of the articles are written by scientists. They're all, which, depending on your point of view, that could be an improvement. But it's all written by science writers, not scientists these days. So.
Well, there was a steep learning curve on some of the subjects. I can recall sitting down and looking and studying it. And then maybe 2 or 3 years later, they would revisit the topic again. And I had a leg up from having read the previous article. But some of them, and again, this is, 50 years ago, some of those articles, if you had never been introduced to that subject, they were tough to grasp what was going on.
Yeah, I think that they've, for lack of a better term, dumbed it down a bit to appeal to a different, a less sophisticated reader.
Yeah.
At any rate, but I still read it. Some articles get the flip through thing, and then some articles I sit down and read in depth.
I haven't read it. I think my dad's given me a couple of copies of it, but I know that It's like you said, it used to be more of a science thing, and now it's more of articles written by somebody. But if you get a chance, that webpage I just put up, the suspect,
Yeah,
that's from 2020, no, 2022. It's only five episodes long. It is really, really good. He is a therapist who who in the first episode it's established he's very, very good at helping the cops, but he's set up. Well, okay, oops, spoiler. It's the journey from helping the cops to being accused that is really, really good. It's like the flip of some of those other criminology shows where he's the good guy, but this is the flip because of the way it's presented. Even at the beginning, you have no idea if this guy's a good guy or a bad guy, and it just proceeds from there. And it's done in 5 episodes, and I think they're an hour long. So it's a really, really good show. If you can find it online somewhere, you should watch it.
On magazines, one that I miss is Omni. That one came out in the late 80s or early 80s, actually. Lasted for a while and then just kind of disappeared.
And they used to put computer programs in it.
Yeah,
what was the name of the magazine?
Omni.
Oh, Omni, yes.
It had stuff all over the place. I remember a few of the stories, the short stories that were in there. They had Harlan Ellison as a writer. They had
Anything else for me? No, but you made it.
oh, shoot.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you.
Talk to you later.
Thank you.
It's
Trying to
Ray.
remember the guy's name.
Hello, guys.
Hello.
What's going on, Mr. Ray?
I just now finishing up a delivery for my customer.
Cool.
Uh,
We are having a great discussion about British television shows that don't work in America, or British crime dramas, or old magazines that we all miss.
I used to
Okay.
I liked Byte magazine.
Bite was another good one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jerry Pornell wrote a monthly article in there.
I don't have any Bites up on my shelf. I've got a couple of Bite magazines somewhere in this house.
I think I disposed of all my old ones. It tried to go online. And when a lot of magazines were transitioning from paper and ink to online, and it didn't make it. It just blew it.
Omni magazine. They had some really big named authors writing for it, who were probably just getting started at the time.
did you guys ever write an article for a magazine?
Nope.
I have. I had I had a weekly column for a newspaper. I guess that counts as a magazine.
Close enough.
I got published in one of the robotics magazines.
Hmm. I've also written a book, but that was, man, you talk about work, that's a lot of work, particularly a technical book, because you gotta have everything perfect, or somebody's gonna come along and say, "Oh, well, you
What I
know."
tell you, yeah, and the book will be the worst.
Somebody's gonna come by and criticize you. Always.
Yeah, oh yeah. Yeah, if you have a thin skin, you do not want to publish anything.
Yeah.
My
I was writing a book on how to take care of your laser, and I got really, really detailed with it. And I realized that if I actually finished the book and gave it to anybody, it would effectively kill my business.
Oh, okay.
Ray couldn't go out and fix lasers anymore.
Well, if it was a good book, nobody would need me anymore.
There is a whole archive of Omni magazines on Internet Archive.
Really?
Yeah. Here's a link. It's nowhere near complete, but there's a bunch of them. I
There's a
think
couple of
these
specific articles I'm looking for. Huh.
are these may be like omnibus editions where they're a little bit of everything. Anyway, they're there. There's a whole bunch of them. So
Okay, what is the CBR extension? Comic book reader?
comic book, yep. Comic book raw, RAR. So there's CBZ that you'll see, which is comic book zip. And so if you have if you right click on one of those and go down to extract it, it'll just be a bunch of pictures.
Okay. Well, I can convert that to PDF and make it easier. I'm lazy that way.
Yeah,
So-
but Linux can read CBRs. So
Yeah. So the
Came out in
last
78, huh?
one was 1995.
Wow. I didn't realize it was that long ago.
yeah, that's nowhere near complete. I know there's more. There's got to be more somewhere.
I mean, there's one for almost every month. I'm curious about 93 having February and March combined.
Well, these may be what people had and was able to scan. Who knows? I find some old magazines on Internet Archive quite a bit, and it's usually what people can scan and save. So
isn't there a copyright issue with that?
Don't
If they
ask
were
too many
being
questions.
sold, yes.
Don't ask too many questions.
Don't point at it.
So old magazines. I'm talking like way older than Omnis. Like from the 50s. A lot of those did not declare their copyright notice correctly, so they've ended up in the public domain. So,
Well, if you go back, like Scientific America in 1880.
yeah, well, that would be in the
um,
public domain.
Yeah,
But I'm talking like magazines that should be under copyright
yeah.
and aren't because they didn't declare their copyright correctly in the first place. So they've ended up. So you can find some really good sci-fi stuff that is completely free, and Project Gutenberg is one of them. You'll find some recent stuff that's completely free that should be copyrighted, but because it was in the magazine, it's not.
Well, the author always has the option of throwing the copyright into public domain, assuming he can get his publisher to go along with it, or his or her publisher.
I think a lot of these magazines that they do this with there's no more publisher. It's just gone.
Oh, okay.
There's
All right,
nobody.
I
There's
got
no right holders left to claim that they even have the copyright for them.
I have an off the wall question for you guys. How many of you guys have bought a book or a magazine and you're just like, oh my God, I just wasted $12?
Yep, been there.
Yeah, I particularly technical books. A lot of times technical books, not scientific books, but technical books.
When I first bought my GoPro, like many years ago, sorry, 10 years ago, I wasn't any good at using it. I thought, I'm going to buy a book that explains, how to use it or how to use the best features of it. So I bought this book that was like the top 15 features of using your GoPro. I thought, well, this sounds interesting. It had a color photo, the color print on the front of the book. Like, okay, and I don't remember if it said how many pages it was. It ended up being like 160 pages. And it was written in, I swear, the biggest font possible. I think I counted 90 to 120 words per page. And
Okay.
the only color images for a camera, the only color image was the front of the book. And I think it had a couple of other like grayscale pictures in the middle of the book. It was the worst. I was like, okay, your top feature is how to replace your battery, how to turn your camera on. And I was like, good Lord. Turns out it was written by this surfer girl, like over the course of 2 weekends. I was like, wow, I could have written a better book than this. My Lord. They didn't even say like how to download pictures from the GoPro. It was more like how to insert and remove the memory media. Like, good Lord. But yeah, that was my experience on Crazy Book.
Well, I had just the opposite experience. After returning from our long trip last fall, many of you know I was projecting the high resolution photographs onto a 4K TV. And I thought it would be a good idea to inquire about converting lenses from a single lens reflex camera to be able to use with a digital SLR. And I thought, well, who can I call and talk to about this? And my niece's husband has been a professional videographer for about 50 years. So I called him up and started talking to him about it. And he said, well, digital SLRs now are relatively inexpensive. He said, I've outgrown several and I no longer use them. Are you interested in one? And I was like, well, yeah, what do you have in mind? And he said, well, I have a Nikon D7000.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, it was gathering dust at his house because he had outgrown its capabilities and needed something more sophisticated. Well, I got it and have downloaded the manual, and it's like, I have never outgrown this. It has features on there of, let's say that you want a preference for exposure versus lighting. You can program the machine like 3 layers of preferences so that when you automatically press the shutter button, it goes through this routine. Depth of
Yep.
field, exposure, all of that. Where I
Aperture
may have
size, timing. Yeah.
I might have an occasion to do that like once or twice a lifetime, but it's not a snapshot camera. But it's just the opposite of what you described for your GoPro.
Yeah. What is your sensor element frame size? You know?
I don't have it off the top of my head. I know what you're talking about. It changes the focal length on film cameras by about 25%. So the focal lengths are all wrong as you
So inside the digital camera, there's going to be a sensor element. And it's so many millimeters wide, so many millimeters tall. And sometimes they're called a sub C or a 35 millimeter or a 50. And, you know, how many megapixels, how many sensor receiver points are in there. And the larger the sensor element is, that can affect like what lenses you're using. If the sensor element is relatively small, then you're going to be able to use some of the older lenses that were available for 35 millimeter cameras. I ran into that problem with my Canon cameras. So the older digital cameras receive all that. They can use the lenses, but the newer digital cameras, they're not going to be able to use the older lenses because as you zoom in, the image, as it's being focused onto the sensor element, the image is too small. So you end up with a problem called vignette.
Mhm.
So it's where the corners of your pictures start to go
Yeah.
gray because there's just no image being projected onto that portion of the sensor element.
Well, it looked to me when I was doing a little bit of research on this that there are 2 main sizes for the modern digital SLRs. My niece's husband had acquired one who, for whatever reason, he couldn't wait for the array to be downloaded serially. And this camera he had acquired downloaded the entire array instantly. And it had a different size entirely than what the other digital SLRs were. But
Yeah, the newer
I bring it up
cameras.
mainly because of your commentary about the waste of money on Surfer Girl writing it over 2 weekends.
Yeah. Yep, I feel you.
I
So-
actually avoid buying magazines because, I mean, even the cheapest magazine is too much. I mean, they're just outrageously priced now. They $12, $14. I saw a magazine at Kroger's for $17. I'm like, I am not paying $17 for no magazine. Especially
So
when
what time zone is Ray in now?
I think I'm an hour off of you guys right now. I'm in Arkansas.
Yeah, that would be Central Time.
No, you gotta account for the right century.
Well, that's true.
Yeah. There is,
Arkansas.
I put in the chat an archive of astounding science fiction.
Yeah, I saw that.
There are hundreds of astounding science fiction. Some of the scans are better than others, but
I like the black and white covers there. It's kind of
Yeah.
gothic.
kind of gothic. I
I
have
was at
been
a-
looking for I've been going through these astounding science fictions because I've been looking for a story that Heimlin wrote. And so far I can't find it. And it doesn't appear like it's in public domain. So
What's the
I-
story?
um
Good chance I've got it if it's Heinlein.
Universe, it went by a different name if it was published in the book.
Well, what was the theme?
It's basically a big generational ship. They were going from Earth to another planet, and over many generations, they started worshiping the ship as being the universe because they kind of lost touch with how to control the ship.
Reality.
People died and nobody knew how to control it. So but that's the general theme of it was. And I know it was published, I think it was published in 2 parts in Astounding, but I can't find it. It's
But it was a
I have-
Heinlein.
mhm.
I have
Published.
Heinlein's expanded universe, collected stories. It might be in there.
It might be in there. I forget what it was called Universe when it was in Astounding Science Fiction, but when it was published itself as in a book, it was called something else, and I forget what it was called.
Marion Zimmer Bradley's Endless Universe. Yeah, give me a minute. Book science fiction.
But there are like over 600 texts to go through.
Hey, guys,
You're kind of breaking up on us, Ray.
Yeah. Hmm.
You kind of broke up on us, Ray.
I was going to say my sound is very peculiar from Ray.
I think
One out
the
of every 100 syllables makes it difficult to understand.
Yeah. You got to do a lot of inference, so to speak.
he's frozen too. He's in a bad cell spot or something.
Yeah.
Well, he said he was in Arkansas.
Yeah.
Now he dropped out completely.
That That was pretty good. Ah, ah, ah.
Poof.
So I still have the 70-inch 4K high def TV that I've moved it out of the garage so I don't punch a hole in the screen. It's sitting in the hallway now, taking up space. And I gathered up all the remotes I have found in the various places throughout the house. And now I have a wash tub full of dead remotes. It's like I never realized I was such a hoarder when it came to throwing stuff away. I have no idea what they ever went to.
That link I just put in there is to the folder of Robert Heinlein stuff. I have, well, a long time ago, there was a torrent, science fiction and fantasy 13 something. And it was like 13,000 books. And then it got expanded a few times. I got a lot of stuff.
You've got the one I'm looking for. It's Orphans of the Sky. That's what it was called.
Ah,
So thank you.
my pleasure. I'll leave that if you, I mean, you can download all of that as a single zip file if you want.
Already done. It's already done.
I meant the entire folder.
Yeah, I
Okay.
download. Oh, well, what? There's more than just Robert Heinlein. I downloaded the 55 Heinlein books you've got.
Okay.
So yes.
Ah, The Sail Beyond the Sunset. I haven't read that in years. That was one of his future histories and wasn't well received, but it was very well written.
Let's see that's Universe was done on X-1, and ever since I heard the X-1 story, I've been like, I want to read the story. And I know it came from Astounding Magazine. I just don't know when. But you found it, or you've got it. You just
Yeah. Oh. So this was from a scan that was then run through OCR.
Mhm.
And it's readable, but it's kind of weird.
readable but weird. That's all right.
Well, this looks like it was scanned by somebody in Brazil because the quotes are all on the bottom of the line.
Yeah, I was going to say that is a little weird, isn't it?
So is that in Portuguese or something?
Well, no, it's in English, but
It's like the font's upside down.
you know how in Spanish they begin a question with an inverted question mark? They begin quotes with an upside down quote mark. And so
Well,
this
Brazil is Portuguese, not Spanish.
oh, okay.
It's Brazilian.
Well, the ending quotes are in the right spot.
Right.
The beginning quotes are in the lower spot. That's weird. Whatever. It's readable. That's all that matters.
Yeah,
I
that's 90
heard
pages.
Ray a minute ago, but I didn't see his picture.
Brazil speaks Brazilian Portuguese, which is a completely different Portuguese.
Okay.
I had an argument with somebody about that, and I ended up doing some more research on it, and it is derived from like European Portuguese, but it is so evolved and changed that it is a Brazilian Portuguese, and it's very different.
Okay.
The only, I guess, way to explain that is like Bayou French, like New Orleans French, compared to like Paris French, or I think that Castilian Spanish and Mexican Tex-Mex is probably pretty different. Because the Mexicans have really bastardized that language. I think that Cantonese and traditional Chinese are close enough that people could understand it, but I'm told that Brazilian Portuguese and European Portuguese are completely different. Well,
You're not talking about Cantonese and Mandarin, are you?
Mandarin, right? They're close enough. They've got some similarities, aren't they?
Yeah,
They're
some.
I don't know. I think that's that would almost be like UK English and Australian English.
Yeah, it's about accent and some words that are particular.
Bahamian English.
Yeah.
Rastafarian Bahamian English compared to, yeah,
UK English.
whatever.
So you got anything going on, Mr. Vicente? We haven't heard much from you from that side of the room.
Yeah. Everything good? I'm working in this still my ruler computer.
The ruler
just-
computer.
I just make the interface to the outside of the computer to drive a speaker. And I am trying the Morse code program from 1977 or something like that. There is again, you need to, you must, how you say, I didn't know, you must guess what is the message. No, this is not the. No, I don't have the program. I was working in another idea, but originally there is a game that you need to guess what characters in Morse code are running. I have an image to show what I'm talking about. Just let me share. Share screen. Here. Okay. You see, this is you hit the go button and the speaker start sounding, producing tones for different letters. 5 sets of 5 letters. This is one set. You see the arrow of the mouse.
Mm-hmm.
One set, another set, and you have 5 sets in like 20 seconds. and you must figure out what was the message. For example, this is an example of random letters. The first one is B. Hit
B.
B. You see the dash and 3 dots. You can see here
Mhm.
the dash and the 3 dots. So
C.
I record the sound using Audacity, the software, the free software, to check the values. After the 20 seconds, you can hit any key and see each group of letters and check if you guess it correctly, everything. It's a game, but the speaker was connected to the original computer in using a breadboard or something. So I made the pins, the simulation of the port pins in the connector, and connected the speaker to check that the program runs, you know. So I am now simulating the I/O of the computer, of the computer from 1977.
Nice.
But this is what I was doing. Today I tried to use a new Arduino board, but was very complicated because I tried to change the bootloader and change everything. So I had to go back my steps to correct the original bootloader again, but I am trying to look for another chip for Arduino with more memory and more speed, but keeping the same instructions to use the same software in a bigger microcontroller with more memory to do more stuff. But I'm not choosing it already. I have 2 candidates to move, but no solution yet. This is I did this a couple of days ago.
Nice.
Now I am waiting for a box from Mauser with a lot of stuff. I need to experiment with another stuff. The people from Seed Studio, the company that use the Grow connector, they have boosters and speakers. So I bought some different models to check if they are compatible with my rural computer, because I have the Grow connector for expanding the system. So I already put in the board, there is a function exp. Can you see the exp option? So you can choose which kind of expansion you want to have in the connector. So you can choose if you want to put memory or I/O pins or a speaker or a cassette interface to save and load programs using a cassette player. So this function will be to choose which interface you want to connect. But I am running out of space inside this guy, you know. Too much code, too much programming. That's it. This is
Well.
a time sharing project because I am doing a lot of stuff and I come back and continue doing some ideas and go back to the jar or out to do something, and I have another idea and come back and try to implement the idea. So it's very slow
You,
pace.
you'll have to bring it to the meeting on the 4th.
What the ruler?
Yeah, whatever you're
Yeah, I can bring it.
the we are going to be in person on the 4th
Okay,
at
great.
the library. And I don't know. You know, we really haven't checked in with Barry either. He's just kind of been lurking over there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I am thinking how to make this board using through-hole components and a kit. So anyone can make it, can assemble it at home and solder all the stuff. But instead of be a ruler, will be a tiny square or something with a keyboard and a display. And we have all the functionality of the old computer, all the board. And there are like 6 books about this development board. It's very interesting to try to key in the programs and the examples. Also, there is a robot that was designed with this board. I have the book. Let me check.
Hey Barry, are you alive over there? I don't think Barry's around.
Well, I don't see his picture anyplace.
Barry never shows his face.
I've been tapping on his name on the screen, but I haven't gotten any response.
Wake up, Barry.
Where's his name on the screen?
Oh, you gotta, when you go up to view and say, uncheck the hide non-video participants.
Vicente, please send me your phone number.
I
That way
found
I can get a hold of you this weekend.
You're gonna have to tell him that again.
Vicente, I need your phone number so I can get a hold of you this weekend.
my phone number. I will send. I will send. I have yours. I will send a message. Okay.
Okay.
Look, this book is from 1978.
By Tab Books. They had a whole bunch of how to build a robot books.
Yeah, but this is with the 6502
Yep.
board. Okay, so it's full of samples and code and circuits and whatever. So almost all of the code that goes in this book can be put in this ruler. I make it move a robot. So it's interesting.
My
Well,
favorite
probably
was how to
written by
build
the
your
same
own working
person.
robot pet. It ran on an 8085 with a single 6-volt battery. I think it'd go for about 12 minutes before it needed to recharge.
I think that the hero came from this book, from this idea, the hero from Radio Shack. This book is several years before the hero.
Yeah, the Hero went on sale in 83, I believe.
But they say they have the same main board that turns around and it has 2 motors for movement. The same design, same base.
Yeah, it's very similar, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, this book is all about to make this robot and made electronic experiments. I bought it in half price books.
Okay. I will have to look. I'll have to look more in half price books because it's on Amazon, but it's not
Yeah,
half
but-
price.
I did it like 20 times and just once I was lucky. So
Yeah.
That's an amazing condition for that old book.
yeah, it's almost new. And it has some code that maybe was in a library.
It's probably an old library book.
Mhm.
So,
Back then, there were probably only 10 people within 100 miles that wanted to read it.
Yeah, here's the price.
oh,
You see,
Not bad.
Yeah.
$7.95. So I hold my happiness and go to the cashier and say, okay, I want this.
I want this.
But I was excited.
Yeah. I found a copy on eBay a little bit cheaper. No,
Yeah.
not much cheaper than what Amazon wants, but a little bit cheaper.
Well, I'm going to tip the camera up and show you some books. Let's see if I can. It's hard to tell, but that is a set of leather-bound cyclopedias from
Oh, wow.
1876.
Wow. You
Why-
mean Wikipedia before the computer?
Oh, yeah. Interestingly enough, when I first got them, my dad had inherited them, and I inherited them from him. I decided to look up what they had to say about the Civil War because this would have just been a few years after the war ended. And I thought, there's nothing in here about the Civil War. And years later, I found it. It was listed under the secessionist conspiracy.
For the War of Northern Aggression.
Yes, yes.
Sorry. Patty showed up because food's almost done. So
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
We don't want to
it's-
get in the way of your evening repast.
we do not want to get in the way. Well, we don't want to make Patty mad. That's what we don't want.
we don't.
So like I said, we are in person on the 4th.
Okay.
So hopefully we'll see everybody on the 4th. And
I'll bring cupcakes.
I'll try to be there.
okay.
Cupcakes.
I bring myself.
I will be there. I'll see everybody later.
Bye.
Bye.
Take care. Good night.
Yeah.